Research has proven that institutional education in Uganda is still bent on providing just facts to the students and tests them to find out how many facts they can reproduce. The current education system places too much emphasis, the exam, and not enough on discussions and peer cooperation among students. Teaching facts should not be the core activity of the education system, but rather teaching students to be creative because facts are freely available on the internet. Education should not be about teaching students how to conform to the world as it is, but to empower students to change the world for the better. In a typical classroom, instruction is regimented. Students sitting obediently in rows, listening attentively to their teachers, putting up their hands as the teacher asks questions. Students copy what the teacher writes on the blackboard, and most learning is by rote. It is largely a broadcast model of learning where the teacher serves as the repository and transmitter of knowledge to the students. The traditional educational paradigm is often characterized by the following views of learning. Teacher-centered, the teacher very much controls what is learned, how it is learned, and when it is learned. The teacher remains the sole provider of information and the student a mere absorber of information. The teacher knew it all, and it is still the same today, same even today. Teacher has remained the sole provider of information. Learning is a process of information transfer and reception. Much of our present learning enterprise remains information-oriented, emphasizing students reproducing knowledge rather than producing their own knowledge. It also remains teacher-centered. Many still see the role of the teacher as a dispenser of information, and the role of the student as a passive receiver, storer and repeater of the transmitted information. The prevalence of this view is supported by observations that teachers continue to rely on old standbys such as lectures, textbook reading, and fill-in-the-worksheets practices that reduce students to passive recipients of information and fail to develop their thinking skills. Learning is an individual/solitary process. The curriculum is fragmented based on subjects like physics, geography, commerce rather than on themes like global warming. Learning is facilitated by breaking content/instruction into small isolated units. The educational system is often geared more to categorizing and analyzing patches of knowledge than to sewing them together. Learning is a linear process. Frequently, the textbook or teacher provides only one linear path through a narrowly bounded content area or sequence of standardized instructional units. For example, in a mathematics text, only one correct problem solution trail may be offered for a specific subclass of problems. However, the problems encountered in daily life, or in mathematics, seldom have only one solution path or sequence. Today there are very many students in one class, and the teacher can only identify and build a relationship with only a few students, hence not knowing some others. As shown, the teacher is the expert and the dispenser of knowledge to the students. Teaching and learning are exam-driven. There is more interest in passing exams than understanding and application of concepts learned in class to daily life situations. Teachers are focusing on the results. It no longer matters whether students understand or not as long as they pass exams. There is a series of assessment, i.e., students do beginning of term exams, exams at the end of every month, and end of term exams. Students take paper and pen exams silently and alone. Assessment is done by the teacher only, and questions are kept secret until exam time. Learning is mainly passive, where teachers use mainly talk and chalk lecture methods. ICT is used occasionally. Teachers' use of ICTs is limited to the use of videos and presentation of notes. Learning is based on a deficit model of the student. The system strives to identify deficiencies and weaknesses of the student. Based on noted deficiencies, students are tracked, categorized, remediated, or failed. Very little research has been done on their strengths. In addition, The weaknesses identified are often deficiencies in terms of the traditional organization and content of schooling. Very little thought has been given to the idea of changing schooling to accommodate new kinds of students, all the effort has gone to changing the students so that they will fit into the schools. Learning is hard, not fun. Many view learning as a difficult and often tedious process. According to this view, if students are having fun or enjoying what they are doing in a learning activity, they probably are not learning. Lesson focus is on lower-order thinking skills, LOTS, of Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy was designed with 6 levels to promote higher-order thinking. The 6 levels were knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. The taxonomy's levels were later revised as remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, revising, and creating. The lower-order thinking skills, LTS, involve memorization. Remembering, can the student recall or remember information? Higher-order thinking requires understanding and applying that knowledge. The top 3 levels of Bloom's taxonomy, which is often displayed as a pyramid, with ascending levels of thinking at the top of the structure, are analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. These levels of the taxonomy all involve critical or higher-order thinking. Students who are able to think are those who can apply the knowledge and skills they have learned to new contexts. Looking at each level demonstrates how higher-order thinking is applied in education. Analysis. Analysis, the 4th level of Bloom's pyramid, involves students use their own judgment to begin analyzing the knowledge they have learned. At this point, they begin understanding the underlying structure of knowledge and also are able to distinguish between fact and opinion. Some examples of analysis would be: analyze each statement to decide whether it is fact or opinion. Compare and contrast the beliefs of W.E.B. Du Bois and Booker T. Washington. Apply the rule of 70 to determine how quickly your money will double at 6% interest. Illustrate the differences between the American alligator and the Nile crocodile. Synthesis. Synthesis, the 5th level of Bloom's taxonomy pyramid, requires students to infer relationships among sources, such as essays, articles, works of fiction, lectures by instructors, and even personal observations. For example, a student might infer a relationship between what she has read in a newspaper or article and what she has observed herself. The high-level thinking of synthesis is evident when students put the parts or information they have reviewed together to create new meaning or a new structure. At the synthesis level, students move beyond relying on previously learned information or analyzing items that the teacher is giving to them. Some questions in the educational setting that would involve the synthesis level of higher-order thinking might include: what alternative would you suggest for underscore? What changes would you make to revise underscore underscore? What could you invent to solve underscore underscore? Evaluation. Evaluation, the top level of Bloom's taxonomy, involves students making judgments about the value of ideas, items, and materials. Evaluation is the top level of Bloom's taxonomy pyramid because at this level that students are expected to mentally assemble all they have learned to make informed and sound evaluations of the material. Some questions involving evaluation might be: evaluate the Bill of Rights and determine which is the least necessary for a free society. Attend a local play and write a critique of the actor's performance. Visit an art museum and offer suggestions on ways to improve a specific exhibit. These days we need our Ugandan learners to focus on higher-order thinking skills, HOTS, like creativity, critical thinking and problem-solving. Challenges schools face in providing quality education: lack or poorly equipped science laboratories, shortage and high cost of instructional materials like textbooks, apparatus, etc. Poor teaching methods which are predominantly teacher-centered and where teaching is mainly theoretically. Can the student recall the answer? Abstract concepts which are difficult to visualize. Shortage and gender imbalance of teachers in some subjects, for example, shortage of female teachers in science subjects. Teacher absenteeism and low motivation. Generation gap between the teachers and students, the .com students versus the PO Box teachers. Large number of students making demonstration and supervision of experiments almost next to impossible. Lack of perceived relevancy of concepts taught in class to daily life experiences of learners. Lack/insufficient teacher professional development and exposure. The finishing the syllabus syndrome, where teachers just want to complete the syllabus whether students have understood or not. Lack of use of visual aids or models in teachings.